Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to Overwatch Central. So this is pretty much the time of placements. The season has just started, people are coming home from the holidays, like me, and have started to pick up playing their placement games. I know a lot of people put too much emphasis on these games with it starting out, but I quite like playing ranked without worrying about your actual rank being. It's kind of like it used to be in the closed beta playing quick play where it didn't matter what MMR you had because the game's close and it didn't matter if you were the top 5% or bottom 5%. You still had competitive games. But there are some pretty big issues with how placements work, and there's still a great big exploit in the game that I'm going to show you in a second. But with the personal based SR changes added into the game now, season's been made a little bit shorter, and most players finishing where they finished last season in terms of where they place. More and more players are starting to feel that placements don't matter. So we're going to go over that first and foremost, but I need to talk about this experience because, Christ, it was interesting to say the least. So I was queuing up with Mist, who finished last season at 4K. I was playing on Rara, which isn't my main account, but it's my highest played account. I don't really play on Ryan Central anymore. I think its season high was something like 3.5, 3.6. I had a pretty horrible season 8, but that's beside the point. We also had another 4K player in this game that was queued up with two other people that were silver. We had two silvers in, I guess, what would be a 3.7, 3.8K rated game. Me, Mist, the other player in our team, and this 4K player that was grouped up weren't placed at all, and that's kind of where the problem is. Just to be clear on the issue, players that have not placed yet can queue with plat below players. And I sort of thought about why this is the case for a bit, but it honestly doesn't make any sense to me now. I get the fact that if you're below plat, you should be able to queue with unplaced players, but so long as they're obviously also plat and below as well, you know? Maybe even for diamond and that kind of thing. I don't understand why those 500 or 250 SR differences can't take place in placements as well, by just taking where you finished last season and working from there. But maybe that kind of highlights the problem that we've already spoken about, where placements start to become basically pointless. It's common sense that this issue should be addressed and taken out, but it hasn't right now. But it's really embarrassing for Blizzard, considering that Season 8 started out with much tighter restrictions of SR, meaning that you shouldn't really see any big differences in rank difference. And considering, you know, you're getting queued up with silver players and you're playing in Masters, that's quite embarrassing. You could add both of the SR for the silver players together and it still wouldn't even add up to 1 GM players. Now I do want to sort of address the people in this game as well. These guys weren't assholes, because at least according to them they actually did it accidentally and meant to queue up with quick play. And frankly it's not even really their fault. This is a big problem for Blizzard. It's more don't hate the player, hate the game in this sense. The fact that this is still a thing. I remember getting annoyed and tilted about this on Twitter this time last season, and it still hasn't been addressed. And I know that other people have been seeing this on Reddit, on the forums and stuff as well. The Blizzard must be seeing people saying, why have I got these different ranks in my own games? Even with like top 500 players in gold level games, it's the same sort of principle. There are players that don't belong in your ranked games that are in your ranked games because they're going through this massive loophole. Now let's quickly talk about whether placements are actually pointless now, and I'm starting to think that they're getting to be. The first strike against them, I suppose, was the changes to how placements actually worked, that you were placed 200, 300 SR below where you actually belonged, so you would climb up. They got rid of that, and what ended up happening was people would finish at, say, 2.7k, that's where they finished in Season 7, and then they would be placed at 2.7k, pretty much even digits away from what they were last season, depending on how many they won and lost. Because of this, it almost feels that Season 8 is a continuation from Season 7, that you don't go any higher or any lower with any SR margins, because frankly the system doesn't do that anymore. Not only that, you have shorter seasons, which means more placements overall, and I think bit by bit people are getting tired with how they work. It's 7 games that have like unranked players in it, but it's still the same games that you play normally. The best advice that you get from people like Istux and Josh, when we did videos with them before, was treat these as normal games, and that's frankly what you should do, because they are, honestly. But also with the performance-based SR changes coming out of the game, that means that element of you having a different SR to what you had before just becomes smaller and smaller and becomes less of an issue overall. So frankly, Blizzard may want to be looking at the competitive experience with how seasons start, maybe just bringing it down to 5 placements instead of 10, something that really shortens the amount of time that you spend in these games, just because frankly they're not really worth it anymore. I don't think. I think most people would just take where they finished last season, as opposed to kind of throwing the dice a bit to see whether you'd be placed above or below where you think you should be placed. But that's just generally my 2 cents. Again, let me know in the comments below what you think about placements and whether you'd scrap them, yay or nay. But anyway, let's go quickly back to the exploit that we were talking about with playing with much higher or lower skill tiered players. I would like Blizzard to address this like instantly. It'd be like, yo, we fixed this because it's a problem and we've heard a lot of people say about it and now we have an opportunity to do it. But no doubt if we do see a fix to this, it'll probably have to wait until Season 9. What I would imagine then is that we get to Season 9, the same thing happens, people make videos and talk about it on the forums, and then it's Season 10 that we're waiting for, and it just, because it's only a problem during a certain aspect of time with 10 placements, it's not many games, it's hours worth of a season, but it's still how you start your season off right. And considering that people expected it to be better with the performance-based SR changes, all of this other stuff that Blizzard have been amping up and talking about, this isn't a great start, to be honest, with some of the issues that we've seen already. But I did kind of want to highlight this exploit, I suppose, just to be careful with who you queue with, because you effectively can queue with anybody. The top player can queue with the bottom player so long as you haven't done placements together, and that's a big problem, so just be wary of that, I suppose, for now. You don't want to queue with a friend thinking that it's fine, because it really screws up the matchmaking. Even if it's only 600 SR difference, you could still be thrown into really low or really high games. I had this with Mist like 4 seasons ago, where I was on an account that was sort of diamond platinum level, because it was, back then, was Rara, the account that I only sort of played as a not a smurf, but like an alt account, and I played with Mist and Josh on their mains. We got thrown into a game with Logix in, the pro player, and obviously I don't belong at that level, so as you can imagine, he wasn't very happy, we weren't very happy, we kind of broke the system and then decided, yeah, we shouldn't maybe do this. But it's just something to bear in mind, I suppose, that this is a big loophole and exploitation of sorts, just a big problem that I think Blizzard really need to hotfix as soon as possible. But let me know if you've run into this problem yourself, any crazy matchmaking issues, but do let me know what you think of the performance-based SR changes they've gone through and all that stuff. But just generally, how is Season 8 going so far? Let me know in the comments below. Like and sub if you haven't already, really helps out the channel. And until next time, take care, we'll see you then.